Hi, this is Benjamin, founder of Farmagain. I have in the past often stated that the farmers should run their farms like an industry. And that is when they can get the best efficiency, best cost reduction, and they can actually run their farm like any other industry. But today, I would like to actually delve more into how industries really make themselves efficient, how they cut cost, what automation methodologies they bring in, and when you compare that with farming, where is the gap and what farmers should actually look into in order for them to bridge the gap that they see against an industrialist. That's what we would like to see today. What do industries actually do? Or what are their goals? Their primary goals are two. One, improve their top line, basically improve their revenue. Now, how do you improve their revenue? They bring in more technology, they modernize things, they automate and make things faster, make things more accurate. And by doing all of these, they increase their productivity, and by increasing productivity, they increase their top line or revenue. The second, an industry would want to optimize their expenses, reduce their expenses. And how do they reduce their expenses? It is by optimizing the processes. And again, how are the processes optimized? Again, automation. So you essentially have automation that helps in improving productivity and therefore improving top line. And you also have automation that helps in streamlining the processes, which helps in cutting cost. And when you increase top line and reduce cost, and that is when you become really, really efficient. Let us look at from a farming standpoint. What do we do and what can we learn from an industry so that we can also try to improve our top line and cut cost and become more efficient. Let us now look at the first point, which is improving top line. What does an industry do? Let us look at an assembly line. Today, assembly line is there in every factory, whether it is a car industry, whether it is a simple component assembling industry, there is an assembly line. So, what is an assembly line? For me to assemble a product, I may need, let's say, hundreds of spare parts, hundreds of components. And there are two ways I can basically assemble them. The olden way, the traditional way, I, as the assembly engineer, would go fetch each of those components, bring it, assemble it, screw it, and finish the product and then pack it and keep it in the shelf. That's one way of assembling a product. What is the second method of assembling a product, which is what is the most common method today, is called the assembly line. So, in an assembly line, people stand in line. One might tighten the first set of screws, and the belt keeps moving, goes to the second person, and the second person maybe fits another part on top of it, moves to the third person, and the third person maybe tightens it, and it keeps going until the product gets to the finished product shape. Let's say if an individual can assemble one product in one full day of 8 hours of working, 10 people together can probably make up to 50 products instead of making just 10 products. How did it happen? Because of automation of assembly line. Now, let us look at how this automation can be implemented in farming. What are the key activities in farming? Number one, irrigation. Number two, nutrition management. These are the two main components of farming. Now, there are more, if you talk about polyhouse, if you talk about indoor farming, there are actually more than these two. But let us look at these two most common denominators that are applicable for any kind of farming: irrigation and the nutrition management. Let us look at irrigation to start with. I may have flood irrigation, I may have drip irrigation, or any micro irrigation, let's assume. A person with flood irrigation ecosystem will go channelize the water from one zone to another, and he will keep doing that from morning to evening and over days, weeks, years. That's all he ends up doing all his life, right? And even people with drip irrigation or other micro irrigation facilities, they open the valve, channelize water to one zone, close it, channelize water to another zone. They keep doing the same thing, throughout the year. Now, what happens in both these scenarios? The outcome isn't very, very different because In both the cases, it is possible that I may have over irrigated, I may have under irrigated, and I have very little possibilities of actually knowing how my irrigation was done, how efficient it was. When I do over irrigation or under irrigation, both scenarios are not ideal for the plants. The plants starve of their ability to uptake nutrition from the root zone, their ability to uptake water from the root zone in both these cases, in both overwatering cases and underwatering cases, and because of which photosynthesis gets compromised. And if the photosynthesis is compromised, the plant growth ultimately gets compromised. However, if I am able to make sure the moisture at the root zone is maintained appropriately, let's say 50% water and 50% moisture, if I'm able to maintain this ratio all the time, then we are talking about a situation where the plants are put in a very, very ideal situation where they will participate in photosynthesis more aggressively, right? And how do we do that? Which is where science based technology will help. Now, let's look at what Grotron does. Grotron will start taking soil samples using sensors where it will keep measuring the moisture, keep measuring the temperature, it will keep measuring the ambient relative humidity, ambient temperature, and also it pulls a lot of data that can affect the soil moisture from weather stations. And using artificial intelligence, it will actually try to predict when the soil moisture will become not so ideal. It'll then try to identify, again using artificial intelligence, when should I irrigate and how long should I irrigate so that the moisture never dries up. It always maintains its air water balance or the 50% moisture and 50% air situation, right? And once that time and duration is identified, the valves are automatically turned on, the pump is automatically turned on, and the irrigation is given not blindly, not time sliced. It is basically after identifying the need of the plant, after identifying the need of the root zone, the irrigation is given. And which, just like a factory environment, just like an assembly line, adds to the productivity because by doing this, what we have now done is done a big favor to the plant by giving the appropriate environment to its root zone where it is now able to uptake all the nutrition that we give it to the plants, and it is able to uptake the amount of water it needs to compensate for the transpiration loss it had, and the plants are able to now participate in photosynthesis absolutely as aggressively as it can get. The nutrition management is another crucial aspect because the plant may have a genetic capacity to produce, let's say, 10 kg in a month. Another plant may have a genetic capacity to produce 5 kg in a month. According to the genetic capacity of that plant, it is actually essential that we supply the right nutrition to that plant. And if you fail to supply the right nutrition, obviously the plant is not going to perform. You are not going to get the right productivity. So, what people do traditionally is that there are people, especially people who follow flood irrigation, they often, they bury the fertilizers in the soil maybe once a month, twice a month, sometimes 4 times a year. And people who have drip irrigation, oftentimes they use venturi to supply their minerals to the plants. And sometimes even people with drip irrigation may not really use venturi because the water soluble fertilizers are expensive. So to cut cost, they may end up buying the granular fertilizers and still apply at the root zone, just like a flood irrigation farmer might follow, right? Now, what happens? In both these scenarios, the fertilizers that were given to the root zone actually will change its chemical properties to something else, and it is never going to stay in the same chemical properties as we applied at the time of the application, right? So we think the fertilizers we supplied is going to help the plants for a month to 1 year. Actually, no, the fact is no, because the chemical properties of the fertilizers have changed. And once it changes, obviously it cannot support the plants anymore, right? And let us look at the scenario with automation. While the air water balance has been maintained properly, let's assume a situation where I'm able to calculate the actual nutrition required by the plant. And if I'm able to supply that to the plant, maybe on a daily basis, maybe every alternative day, maybe worst case once a week, Think about it, right? The chemical properties of that fertilizers, that minerals, is not going to change in a day, in 2 days, or not going to drastically change in a week's time, right? What we give gets consumed by the plant. Therefore, the efficiency of nutrition uptake by the plant has been increased with the help of technology. And what does this efficiency improvement do? Again, help the plants participate in photosynthesis better. On one hand, when you have the right air water balance, the plants are able to participate in photosynthesis better. And while they are participating in photosynthesis, if they are able to absorb all the nutrition that they need, that is when they can actually produce what they are intended to produce as per the genetic capacity. Therefore, by following these two, irrigation management and nutrition management, with the help of technology, we are talking about a situation where the photosynthesis is absolutely improved, and that results in an unimaginable increase in productivity. The third aspect is a climate management. Even if I did my irrigation management and nutrition management perfectly with the help of technology, the third element, climate management, is something that I cannot really manage well in open farming, but certainly is something that is a possibility in a polyhouse or in an indoor farming, right? I will be able to measure the actual temperature, the relative humidity, the photosynthetic active radiation, the CO2 levels, all of that, and manage different equipment like air circulation fans, the curtains, the fan and pad system, the exhaust, uh, and still be able to manage the climate inside a greenhouse or a indoor cultivation environment. So in a polyhouse, the automation can go even a level beyond what we can expect in an open farm and help the plants to get into even a better productive regime. Therefore, overall, by scientific interventions in irrigation, nutrition management, and climate management, we are talking about an extreme increase in productivity, almost on par with the genetic capacity of the plants, right? So the farms that either run all their operations manually, or even farms that may have some basic automation but not a very, very scientific automation, are likely to face the music of the changing climate, right? Which is where we really need very, very scientific automation to be in place, where it can help you manage changing climatic condition, the lack of manpower, and still be able to thrive and get the best of every crop that we plant. This is where our technology Grotron comes into picture. Grotron was designed and developed exclusively to improve photosynthesis by following the principles of evapotranspiration. And in fact, the very core patent that Grotron has into it is also around the evapotranspiration principles. And Grotron was also recognized as one of the top 100 innovations of India. And not just in India, even in overseas, the government of Indonesia has recognized Grotron as their primary technology that can help in their agriculture vision 2026. If this video rings a bell in your mind, whether you're a farmer, whether you're a white collar job professional somewhere in an urban city, or someone with a land holding but not really having the courage to go and start farming because you think it is a white elephant. No, it is not a white elephant. It is in fact a tax-free income source. Right? It doesn't matter who you are. As long as you're interested in farming, you have the means of land where you want to do farming. We are there to support you, right from the basic design of your farm to implementing technology to support you with the nutrition management, help you get to the high productivity of any crop that you may have. We are there to support you. Our team is there 24/7 to help you achieve high productivity and operational improvements. Our contact number, email, the website, all of it is here. You can call our toll free number, you can write to us. Our team will be very, very happy to assist you in your journey towards successful precision farming. Thanks for watching. See you again in an interesting video later.